G'day and welcome back for more Space Engineers Survival. With the sun, it still looks cool. I'm so happy with how this lava turned out. There was something that a lot of people mentioned and I thought I should address in more detail and with more examples, which was you can kind of make out the orange glow on the wall here. And it might have been nice if I'd been able to do that around the whole edge. And I could have done something like that by putting a few lights underneath the LCDs so that they could flicker and brighten up the walls. However, you can also see that the edges of the LCDs in front of us are lit up by that same light. That only gets worse as we put interior lights beneath all of this, which is unfortunate. I think on balance, we're better to have hidden LCD edges than to have visible ones and light on all the rock around us. Now I am noticing something, which is LCDs are reflective, so we're getting a reflection of the blue sky in these. You can make out the edge of the... Oh, there we go. You can really see stuff that way, which is interesting, but not too much of an issue when you're at a distance. This was always going to be a less than effective illusion once you got up close. Today my plans are to add a bit more of the detail to this area of the base, fill out the corridor here, but first I want to show off a little something that I've started working on, and bear in mind this is definitely not complete yet. I have to do a little bit more of additions of various bits to it, but I just didn't get time before this video. But I will continue to work on it, and that is a new map. And you can see I've gone to try and match the colors to the Colt command consoles. I want to ultimately add a bit more of this information down the side on both sides of the screen so that it feels a bit more cluttered. But the idea of this map was not to be so specific to my survival scenario. Hopefully, when I'm finished it, this will look generic enough that you could use it on any Earth-like planet or on any station that is orbiting an Earth-like planet, so that you can have some sort of command center set up like this, and you can use this mod to be able to have this sort of image. That's the dream anyway. We'll see how much progress I can make on that, given a bit more time. Now, there's something else that I did in this control room which has upset a few people's obsessive compulsive tendencies, and my own once I got told about what I'd done. That's these pillars. I have used these pillars so rarely, I did not notice that they were different on the sides to the top and bottom, or however you want to say it, but that they had two different surfaces. And I just kind of randomly shoved them in here. So we should... Oh, my inventory is too full for me to fix this. Now what I'm trying to decide with these pillars is whether I deliberately have them different in the middle to the top and bottom, and I think I will. So that means I need to get rid of this one, and this one. For the top, so the emissive strips facing us, there, and then the emissive strips being sideways. Which I thought it was a bit boring having them all exactly the same way the whole way up. Yeah. I'm happy enough with that. I also think I might have made it a bit too bright down here. When I was messing around with the lights in here last time, it felt really dark, but I hadn't yet put any lights in these rooms next door, so we weren't getting any of the ambient lighting from them. But now, it looks like we are. It also looks like we're getting a lot of bleed through from these lights. So let's reduce their radii down. I had kind of felt like the ambient lights weren't doing enough in here, but they sort of are. I think I'll just leave this place without any lights. I will, however, paint these the correct color. So there we go. A much darker control room with a much more fitting map, corrected pillars, a slight adjustment to the roof with 2x1x1 slopes to fill in those spots a little bit more. And yeah, it's very dark in here, but I think it kind of works, I guess. I don't know. I'm a bit torn. I do like it being a little bit brighter in here and not having the light change around so much. But I'll see whether this grows on me. Now, for something new and fun. I have been trying to figure out a nice way of doing a vanilla-styled cargo crate, pallet sort of thing. And sort of came up with an idea that I think works reasonably well. So I want to create a bit of a pallet, and the first thing we want to do is grab a landing gear, and in this case I want the pallet to sit as flush up against this battery as possible, which means getting this landing gear as square as possible, and oops, didn't want to place that just yet, and placing the landing gear as far towards the back as possible, because then it will be most hidden. Oh dear, didn't want to do that. So let's rotate it around. Oh, what's going on? There. Ah, get back here. It's a bit fiddly, this thing. We're about square now. And getting it right into the corner. I think that's about as good as I'm going to get. So we'll drop that there. Weld it up. The reason I start this with a landing gear is that I want it to be locked to this grid so it doesn't bounce around. And also, if you're going to make this sort of design on a ship, you're going to want it to stay there. Oh, that's actually going to let me do that. Interesting. And it's not going to stay there if you just have them floating about for a ship, particularly if you decide to jump somewhere. So we can create the kind of pallet shape by using half slabs, then full blocks, like that, then more half slabs. Oops. And you can get it out to pretty close to exactly the right size for a large block by going a 5x5 square, like so. And if I weld this all up, you'll get the idea that this does look a little bit like a pallet. I think I may have made a small error in judgment by placing this where the light is, but although the landing gear is auto-locked right now, we could unlock it and then try and budge this in just by pushing it around. So let's try that. So if we want to budge this around, we just need a control panel access for the landing gear so we can unlock it and then relock it once we're done. Landing gear, auto lock off, unlock. Now it kind of floats up, and we'll see if we can push this into the corner a little bit more so it's not interacting with that light quite so much. And I think that might be as good as we can get. It's not too bad. And then we can just grab our landing gear and lock. So I'm not so incredibly happy with how it's lined up with the light there. So what I'm going to try and do is push this thing. I am making small progress each time. Push this thing till... Actually, I wonder if I can do this. I am not happy with how that's lining up with the light, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to push it down a block. I should be able to do that if I bump it. Landing gear is unlocked, isn't it? Ready to lock, yeah. Or maybe I can do this to push it. Get a lever on it. Yeah, there we go. So we can push it back. Keep pushing it around. And you can just keep budging this thing until you get it into the position you're looking for. What I might do... Oh, there we go. Pretty much there. If I put a cube there, I can then push this right up against it. And this is the beauty of small grid. You can push it around with your character. And now, particularly with my light off, you can get a much better idea of the shape of this. Now, it does look a little bit like a pallet. Then we can put things on it, like in the case of this base, I'd be covering the thing with warheads. And that was my sort of first idea, was we would have a couple of pallets of the stuff that actually goes on the rocket that are half used. But you could put a mixed pallet of different stuff. You can do all sorts of things to try and create a little bit of detail in a cargo area. And this is all something that can be done with vanilla, which is really, handy. With the multiplayer patch about to come out this week, a lot more of us will be likely to be playing on servers that we don't have control over the mod list for. So we'll be stuck with using designs that are limited by either vanilla or a very small mod list, which is not a bad thing. It's just something that we have to be aware of, and it does make it more important to do things with vanilla designs, because they are the most flexible in terms of bringing from one server to another. So there we go. I finished the battery next to it just so that we can see how well it hides everything. And I think that pallet looks kind of cool. Definitely don't want to be arming any of those warheads, as that could end very poorly for us. But I think it's a nice way to get a little bit of extra detail. And the other thing that a lot of people suggested for this to add some more detail to the hallway is something that is useful in any scenario where you want to have your build look a bit more interesting, particularly from an industrial standpoint, and that's using things like the refinery upgrade modules. With their pipes and their detail, they actually work quite nicely for this sort of setting. So I think what we'll do is we'll pop a speed module just there. We're going to need to have a couple of programmable blocks for something I want to show next. So we'll pop one there. We'll pop another one there with pop a timer block in between. I think we'll use that surface. I'm kind of liking it lately. So that's one side completely occupied. And then I can just fill up the other side with maybe another cargo container like this or something similar. So what I want to do with this programmable block is set it up with a Flickr script, and this is by Infal. Let's go to Browse Workshop and Flickr. Okay. And this will set up a light to have a random flickering effect. Kind of like you'd expect if it's got inadequate power supply, or if the bulb in a fluorescent isn't actually working properly. If the starter thing that works on fluorescence, I don't really understand how fluorescent lights work, but you know how they get their flicker when their globe's about to die and you need to buy a new one. So what we are going to do is we are going to check code. Okay, we're going to leave all the configurations at their standard options, and what we need to do is send a command to the programmable block to add a particular light to its effect. And we could do this with sensor blocks so that it doesn't have to be flickering when there's no one in the base, which is a really nice touch. But what I might do is actually just have a sensor near the exit of this base that will turn off all the lights and turn off all of the power consuming stuff as I walk out. So the only thing that consumes power in this base is the sensor. But that's something for the future. I'm just going to copy this string here so that I don't have to remember how to do this. And go argument, paste that in there, but what I want is corner light double 10, which is the one that's just beneath us right now. And there we go. Let's turn off my lights. And you can see that this light here is sometimes flickering and sometimes working normally. And I think it'd be really cool to have that sort of lighting effect up in the vents. It'll mean I won't really worry about this spill on these red lights so much if we have the red lights up there flickering. But it is the sort of thing that definitely adds a lot of atmosphere, which is really, really cool. For now though, let's suspend this. Toggle the programmable block off. What I think I'm going to use this for is I'm going to, well, I hope to, turn this silo into a start scenario that I'll publish on the workshop once we've got it all complete. I kind of like the idea of spawning way down in the back of this thing, not having any real knowledge of where you are, not having all that much power, having most of the lights really dimmed down. You can imagine if you spawned on this toilet, you've got this door shut. This is what you wake up to. This is what you start the game looking at. You got a door, you walk up to it. You realize you've just been sitting on a toilet, which is a bit bizarre. Walk out into the bathroom. Find this break room. You're in this empty base with this really gloomy lighting. Trying to figure out where you're going, albeit most of you will know exactly where you're going. Wander out here. Find a command and control room that's also completely empty of people. Wander through here, and because of the parts that we've used throughout this base for decoration, there'll be plenty here for you to build from. And then you wander out, find this massive silo with a missile half constructed, the welder jammed down, and then you look up and see these flames. And it's only once you activate the doors that you realize they're actually creating a little illusion. And my idea for creating this base will be to transplant it onto a totally new Earth-like planet and delete everything else in the world, so this is literally all you start with. When you walk out here, you won't see an ugly duckling, you won't see a bridge down there, you'll just see valley. And I may even try and find a different spot on the planet so that it's unfamiliar when I transplant this base. But I think it'd be kind of cool to set this up as a start scenario. Once I started doing all the mood stuff, I was like, this could be fun to do. So that's something I want to do once I've done all the decorations. And obviously, once I've finished the wall map up here. Which I'm definitely happier with. The color certainly works a lot better. But yeah, with that start scenario, I'll definitely have some flickering lights, like in the spawn position where you actually start, there'll be a light flickering in front of you, so it'll be that disorientating kind of effect. Could even put a few Easter eggs up in the vents. Who knows? Let's close all the doors on the way out. Alright, I'm going to finish off decorating this hallway. I don't think there's anything new to talk about, so we'll come back once I've filled in these gaps with something a bit more interesting than blank wall. So, I have added a sink opposite the shower. I got rid of the second shower in here, as a few people pointed out to me that having a sink, and the only sink, be in the room where everyone goes to the toilet is probably not the most hygienic or practical of ideas. So I fixed that. And with that fixed, I'm kind of thinking we'll take a break from doing design work on this silo. I'm quite happy with how the work so far has turned out. I'm going to come back to the silo when I've finished this LCD design, and then we'll put M-Master's automatic LCDs up on the side screens with some info up there and play around with all that stuff. But for now, this place is actually working pretty well, I think. I finished this corridor. There's a bunch of upgrade modules through it. There's our programmable blocks that we need, one for M-Master's automatic LCDs, one for Infal's flicker. And we've got some shelves, we've got some oxygen, we've got some pallets with some bits and pieces on them. I've even gone and put some pallets outside here that will make this place feel a bit more full. I don't really have a lot of control items to put out here. I'd originally planned on putting like a control station here, but since we've got the CIC, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. For decorating this area, having a bit of stock down here in the corner is about what I wanted. I could probably go with a few pipes and things around the place. So let's grab some. Yeah, we'll grab some of those. So if we start with, say, probably not that one because the light. Oh, there. We'll put that there. Go with one of those. Conveyor tubes to pipes. Might even. Oh, yeah, that'd be kind of an interesting idea. If we have pipes that go all the way up to where the O2 generators are, sort of implying that they require this fuel to keep going with those effects. I may have just done something very silly. I may have been trying to work out how to place something and forgot to fill my hydrogen. Hopefully, I'll be able to climb out of here. Hey! That'll work. Whoops. There we go. That's created a bit of detail on that wall, which I think is nice. And it's funny, all you really need to do is add a few pipes like that, and a space like this really comes together. It was feeling really bland before, and I added those pipes, and I think this is actually, at least on that left side, it, to my eye, looks much more complete. So, I wonder if we just continue with the extra piping around on this side too. Also going to add a couple of extra lights around here that I'm going to have off for the moment, but will eventually hook up to a system so that they become the red warning lighting for when we're actually doing a missile strike. So if that were to come on and put everything into a red glow as we prepare our missiles, I think that'll be kind of cool. Alright, let's have a look. Let's see if I'm happy enough with this. We've got pipes going around the place. Yeah, I think that works. Got our shelves. I think if I keep going with this, I'm probably going to end up overdoing it, and it'll end up looking way too cluttered and not really make a lot of sense. One thing I will do though is, because it's been bugging me, place these corner pieces on these bits so they match the other side. The last thing that I have debated with myself about is whether I put lights going up in the launch tube. And I think I should. I think it'll look much cooler if we have a couple of small lights, not casting light very far, but still present. And it's on that layer. So I think I'll go every second. I think it'll really enhance the feeling of movement as you launch out of the tube. Alright. I think that kind of works. I didn't really want it to illuminate anything much around it. I just wanted them to be sort of beacon lights that guide us straight up out of the tube. I think that'll look kind of cool as we launch up with our missile. I think, even though I was planning on leaving before I started doing these designs around here, I think I'm glad that I did, because now I am really feeling this place is complete. Oh no, wait, there's one thing to do. And it's get a turret in here. Ha, I knew I forgot something. Now, I think the best place to put a turret is going to be right here beside the door. Unfortunately, to fit a turret in, you actually have to drill out the entire the entire cube, like with sensors and all those sorts of blocks. I kind of want it hidden a little bit like that. If we go and put an armor cube there, we go, then I think what we'll do is grab our turret, and for the first time in an incredibly long time, I'm going to use some cover walls. Put the turret there, then put a cover wall there, and if I put a, I think we might go with catwalk there actually. We now have a turret, which is going to protect here, but what I'm hoping, if we hop outside, is that from, whoops, out here, you really can't make out that there's a turret in there. I wanted it to be hidden enough that it kind of jumps out at you, and I like having the cover walls around it because it should protect it without limiting its own ability to shoot. Now, can I get at its inventory to give it some ammo? Yes, I can. I can just have the 3 that I was carrying on myself. So how much power do we have left on this base before I leave? Batteries. 2 days. That's not horrible. That is 48 in-game hours. So normally an episode is about an in-game day, which is 2 hours. So that's going to take me almost all the way through till like episode 84, 85, 83, something like that, which is pretty far away. Hopefully by then I'll have figured out a power supply system here, and if I've used any more missiles, the power will become much, much reduced. So I have to keep that in mind. But I am happy with the silo now. So let's head back to the base. and start preparing for our assault on the enemy. Time to print off some more sandbags. Buttercup, you know what to do. So I was just thinking, if I'm going to be dropping these sandbags onto the enemy base, I really don't want to put solar cells on them. That's just an expense that I don't need to make. So I'm going to print off a sandbag, and I'll put the solar cells, enough for one of them, in there. And I'm going to make a sandbag drop model so that I can project it and just print it off. So I think that'll be a much better way of going about this. Ah, the goldfish. Swimming, swimming, swimming. The reason I put those solar cells in for this first build is that, as I've mentioned before, when you're welding with a grid-based welder like this, it doesn't like to place new blocks until it's finished the ones that it has already placed. As you can see here, because I forgot to put the radio components in, it won't weld the rest of it. Let's fix that and we'll come back. I'm also out of iron. I just realized that as I was wondering what I was constructing right now. I have used it all up. I've got 22,000 steel plates and 18,000 interior, so I've done quite well, but I am all out. So let's strip this sandbag of everything that we don't need for it, for its specific mission in this case. So that's the solar panel, that's the landing gear. We probably don't need all of these timer blocks, but they're not as easy to strip. We do we need the antenna even? Yes, we do need the antenna, and actually we do need this programmable block. Or do we? No, this one probably doesn't need the antenna or the programmable block, since... Oh no, wait, it does, it definitely does. I was just thinking, it doesn't need it, because it can just keep shooting the whole time. No, bad idea. If it keeps shooting the whole time, it'll destroy the entire base if any of these survive all the way to the ground. Which would be bad. Be very, very bad. Okay, so we do need the antenna and we do need the programmable block. We also need to switch around what I've done with these parachute hatches. Instead of having them to make sure that this thing lands right way up, let's do the opposite. Let's make sure it travels upside down the whole way down. What I might do to make that happen is pop one on this side. Do we have our green? Yes, we do. Maybe. Yeah, that'll work well enough. One there and one there. I'll be able to access them and manually load them, which I will have to do before I drop this thing on the ground, otherwise I will never get in there, at least until the bin chicken lifts the thing off the ground. But if they're there, that should flip this so that the turret is facing down. Now, is there any other weight I could cut off? Don't really think there is. I think it was just the solar panel and the landing gear. I probably don't need all these timer blocks, but I can't remember which ones I do need. So rather than figuring that out, I'll just leave it. They're not that expensive. They're only a couple of components each. So that is fine. And to replace the bit where the solar panel was, let's pop a couple of armor blocks there. Let's drop this sucker and we'll make a new blueprint for it and then project it. Before we create the blueprint, make sure I replace that block. So we're going to call this the Assault Sandbag. Okay. This thing is reasonably more streamlined than the other ones, since it just has the bare... Ooh. That's something I could do with this. If I wanted to, I could have tried to strip out the battery and replace it with a transformer box. That would save a few components. Is it worth it? How hard would it be to do that? Oh, very, because the battery is a core component. Alright, never mind. It's only a few power cells. There we go. Assault sandbag ready to be printed. Nice. It's not just the cost of the sandbag that I was hoping to minimize here, it's also the mass of it. The lighter I can make the sandbags, the more likely it is that the bin chicken can carry a full squadron? Full complement? Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. A full complement of them, and drop 4 at the same time as also carrying a chicken hawk. Something else I'm going to do to make these sandbags a little more efficient and a little less costly to use, or to lose, is I'm only going to give them a bare minimum of ammunition. They've only got to function once, so I don't need them to be able to shoot long term, which means I don't need to load up the turret all the way. I think 2 canisters of ammo should be adequate. And then a parachute each. Those parachutes. Auto deploy height. Why don't we make that 500? Now before everybody gets too excited, I am not going to be doing the attack today. That is coming next time, and hopefully it will get to take advantage of the new multiplayer patch, which will mean that Reggie will be able to get a good view of what's going on, and we'll be able to get what I really hope is a cool perspective on this attack. I'll be keeping my fingers crossed that I can actually achieve something awesome with that. But that's going to be what will happen in the next episode. I didn't want to get your hopes up too high and disappoint everyone and go, no, we're not going to see it. While welding this last one, I noticed something that I probably should have been able to notice earlier. I missed one of the lights on the blueprint version of this, so all of these sandbags are missing one light on one of the decoys. Which is not the biggest disaster, but just something unique to this sandbag, I guess. You can see the one that I mean. It's the one that's closest to the rotor. And it's missing on all of them. All welding complete, I hope. Everything is done down there, isn't it? Oh, we'll find out in a second. So we'll load that one up, and then I need to set them up so that we can... Whoops. Let's fix up what I just damaged then. We'll load them up with their parachute canvases, with their ammo, and then I need to set up the parachutes so that we can make them auto-deploy. And I think the optimal height for the deploy is going to be somewhere about 500 meters in altitude. That should give us enough. That should get us in. Oh, I need more parachutes and ammo. Oh, I didn't grind that. Oh, that's right, because I placed that one. Then I need to set up the parachutes so that they'll actually auto-deploy, and I think we want auto-deploy at about 500 meters in altitude, but I not only need to set it up so that they will auto-deploy, but set it up so that we can control that auto-deploy setting from the bin chicken. Because I don't want them auto-deploying as we try and fly out of the hangar. One of the things that I noticed when I last was messing around with the parachutes and the sandbags is that when I use groups and then project it, the groups disappear. So that's kind of annoying. But since I'm going to be manually doing all 4 of these, I may just create a group and then set up our deploy actions to get rid of those groups, and it will be auto deploy on or off. And we've already got that command on the bin chicken's hotbar, I think. Or maybe we don't. We'll need to add it. I think we'll need to add it, actually. I think it might have been on... Oh, maybe it is. I can't remember. Set this up for all of them anyway, and then we'll test our load bearing capabilities of our bin chicken. Time for our loadout. Don't think I placed these together as close as I did last time, which is unfortunate. Okay, bin chicken's loaded up with those 4. Let's grab... I wonder if I could lock it on with its connector. Don't think so. definitely don't think so. So we'd need an extra thruster to be able to do that in any kind of safe fashion. So what I might do is add a very dodgy landing gear onto this. Stand on top of the bin chicken. Actually, let's grab in the bin chicken. Then we're going to go Shift K. We're going to go to the terminal. Chicken Hawk remote control. Control. Camera. P. Oh, what just happened? What you saw there was me doing a kind of stupid thing with the timer block. I'd set up the timer block for parking the Chicken Hawk so that it would turn the antenna broadcast state to off so that it wouldn't clutter my HUD when it was parked in the hangar. The trouble with that is, if I don't use that timer block to disconnect, the broadcast doesn't go back on, and it just totally disconnects me from the Chicken Hawk. And it took me a little while to work out what the heck was going on there, which was kind of annoying. But we got there in the end. Aha! That was the problem. For some reason... Oh, of course. With broadcasting turned off on the Chicken Hawk, it all stops working. Gotcha. Now, if we go back to this, go to Chicken Hawk remote control, press control, then use the timer block to disconnect. I broke it because I forgot to leave the antenna off broadcasting. Alright, let's see. See what happens. Okay, that's better, finally. Oi. Switch lock. Landing gear, auto lock off. Let's go fly over to the bin chicken. This is going to be the weirdest contraption I've put together in a while. Maybe. Oh no! I did a bad thing. Let's turn our inertial dampeners off on the Chicken Hawk. Let's leave control of it. Back control of the bin chicken. And if I do that, I sink all the time. My worry though is if I have control of the Chicken Hawk and I leave its inertial dampeners on, which does allow me to hover, that it's going to cook through the top of the bin chicken. Oh, I got an idea. Let's do this. Chicken Hawk control. Unlock the landing gear. Let's lock it facing backwards. Then the thrusters can't cook anything. Yeah. This contraption gets weirder by the second, but hopefully more functional. Alright. It is drifting a little bit as I fly, but it is working. It is definitely working. Let's open... Nope, that was not the right key. What's the front door key? That one? Yeah! Ah. Yes. Let's go. Remember, not going to attack today. Going to attack next time. But I am heading on out. Because next time we are straight away going to be launching this assault. Oh yeah. This is going to be good. Hopefully. Hopefully not a complete disaster. So, for next time, we have the attack and plenty more. So I'll see you then.